What's up, Node.js developers? Welcome back to a new live stream. So excited to be back at our usual Fridays live stream. And today I'm coming at you with a very exciting build that I've been preparing for the last couple of weeks. So today we're gonna work on the iOS 16 lock screen, and we're gonna try to reproduce it with React Native. You might ask, why are we doing this? Well, I updated to iOS 16, I was looking at the lock screen, and it has so many features, it has so many customizations, and I really enjoy all the animations that this screen provides, and I decided to challenge myself and try to reproduce some of these animations. So in this tutorial, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start by simply displaying the user interface of this beautiful screen, and after that we're gonna get into some animations. So in this tutorial, in this live stream, you're gonna learn React Native using Expo, and also you're gonna learn some JavaScript, because we're gonna write JavaScript. But what's new and what I'm mostly excited about is the React Native Reanimated, which is the library that will help us build the beautiful animations that we have on the screen. So, for everyone who is new here, hi, my name is Vadim, and I'm sharing my knowledge and experience here on YouTube channel with everyone, with our community. So if you enjoy, and if you enjoy building mobile applications, and if you're interested in that, make sure to drop a subscribe down below, not to miss future videos. Because I know like most of you watching right now are not yet subscribed. And yeah, that's a bit sad. But with that being said, I think we can get started, and in a moment I'm going to show you the end result of the application. So let's go. Alright, so first of all, hello everyone who is joining us live in the chat. As usual, let me know where are you joining us from. I'd like to show you the application that we're gonna build. Just give me a second. Of course, some issues before. But before that, of course, one last step for the. For the prerequisites, in order to get the step-by-step guide and also the asset bundle that will include all the images, all the dummy data, and everything that will help you follow along this tutorial, then go to assets.nodejs.dev/ios-lock-screen. So the URL you'll find in the description below of this video. So after following that form, you're gonna get the how is it called? The step-by-step guide, which is in Notion and explains all the steps, and it has also code snippets in order to be able to follow along, and also the dummy data that I explained. So yeah, let me see what's going on. Yeah, the application I think is running. Oh, of course. Give me 1 second. I will need to grab some files. I forgot about them. Let me know if you managed to get the step-by-step guide, and when you're ready, we can get started. Okay, I brought the assets here in my dummy project. Let's see if... All right, so here we have it. So here on the right, you can see the application that... Let me actually do it like this. So guys, here you can see the application that we're gonna build by the end of this tutorial. So as you can see, like initially the application will look like this. We're gonna simply display a beautiful background image with the clock and the date at the top. We're gonna work with some icons to display them, for example, the lock icon, and here at the bottom, the flash and the camera icon. After that, we're gonna start working on the animations. So the first animation is the little swipe up to open text at the bottom. That is really quite easy to implement. Then we're gonna also do some layout animations. For example, if I refresh the application, the text and the footer should slide in the screen. Probably it's not very visible at the moment. After that, we're gonna get into some interesting stuff and we're gonna animate the flat list. So as you can see here, the flat list, when you scroll, the item seems to be coming from the behind instead of just going straight down. So this is a really nice animations that you can reuse in a lot of applications. And even though I spent like probably 4 hours to nail it down, I think now that I understand better animations, it's actually not that complicated to build. Also, we have some really nice small things, like if you start scrolling the list, our footer will disappear, and if we scroll all the way up, the footer appears back in. And the same goes with if we swipe down and scroll down, then our flat list will disappear, and the same, we can make it appear again. So with that in mind, I think we are ready and we can get started. Are you excited about that, guys? Let's see. So I see that a lot of people are just joining, and if you just join right now, the plan for today is simple. The plan for today is to try to recreate iOS 16 lock screen together with its notifications using React Native. And here what you see on the screen is not the lock screen of iOS, because that one is here. This one is actually built with React Native, and that's what we're gonna do today. With all these little animations, with a beautifully scrollable list. And yeah. Okay, we have our team here. Hello, Momo. Hello, Catalin. So guys, I'm gonna open the guide that you should receive on your email, and let me do it here. Let me open it here, because here you'll find like all these like step-by-step instructions on how to follow along. Also, it has like a lot of code snippets to make your life easier. All right, so here we have it. So when you open this page, you're gonna scroll down and you're gonna see the task list. Here in the task list, we have all the tasks for today. But if we go by topic, here we should see like all of them divided in UI and animations, because the first part of this video is gonna be focused on the user interface. So for the user interface, let's start from the beginning, and let's start with the task UI1. And here we need to initialize the project. So to initialize an Expo project, we simply need to use a command npx create Expo application. Nowadays, you don't have to install Expo CLI globally. You only need npm and npx. And if you have them, you are ready to get started and building applications with Expo. So I'm going to open a terminal. By the way, this application will work both on Windows and on a Mac OS. I mean, to develop it on Windows and a Mac OS. And it will work both on an iOS device and on an Android device. I would really love Advan to see how this lock screen looks at the, on an Android device. But now let's go ahead, and I'm gonna go in my projects, and here let's go ahead and run npx create. I can do it even like this. npx create expo app, and the name will be iOS lock screen. Let's press enter, and now npx will check if you already have this installed globally. If not, it will ask you to confirm to install it, so press yes, and after that your expo will initialize our project. I think my camera is a bit off, so sorry for that. I think it's better. All right. Vitaly Griza, salutare, hello. Brooks, hello guys. Can I use Node 18? Most probably you should be able to do it, because the only thing that we need is npm here, and that's it. Reginald, hello. All right. No, what did I do? I have no idea what I did. I pressed on some buttons. Jason, hello. Jason is actually, you're from our premium course, right? I remember you. Come on, why it takes so long to install JavaScript dependencies? I think I'm on a Wi-Fi and maybe not the best. But after we see that your project is ready, all we have to do is to open this project with Visual Studio Code or any other editor of your choice. So let's go ahead and do code iOS lock screen, and this will open the newly created project in VS Code. Now I will not need any more this terminal, because I will use the terminal that is integrated in Visual Studio Code. So let me set up everything. And now let's go ahead and run this project as it is, as it was generated by Expo. For that, open a terminal by selecting terminal in the top bar and then new terminal. And here, let's go ahead and run npm start. This will start our development server. And after that, let's do yes. I'm gonna do it like this. So this started for us the Metro Bundler, and it displayed the QR code. This QR code, if you don't have an emulator on your machine, then the easiest way to test and debug Expo applications without having to go through the installation guides is to download on your phone the application called Expo Go from market. It is available for both Android and iOS, and after you install it on your device, then you can scan this QR code and it will run in your physical device, in your hand. But in order for you to see what I'm doing here, I will go ahead and run it on this emulator. So I'm gonna press I here. By the way, Expo, if you remember previously, Expo had like a very nice web UI user interface for the development server, but it was removed. So nowadays, the only way to interact with Expo is through the CLI command from here. So as you can see, there is all the commands that you can run, and also you can press question mark to see actually all of them. So now we see on the right the application running on our emulator or on your device, and it says to open up app.js and start working on the application. So app.js, we can find it here in our root directory, and this is the entry point of our application. So if we're gonna change the text here to hello world, then this text will automatically, without even saving this, it automatically updates on the device. So that means that everything, our setup is correct, and we are ready to move to the next step. So Let me, where is it? Here you can see all the, in the guide that you received on the email, you should see all of these steps. And also I included like a couple of tips and tricks and some information about debugging. So if you're interested, go ahead and follow this guide to learn more about this. Oh, I should remove this one. Okay. So back to our task list. Let's go to the second one, UI import the assets. To import the assets, go ahead and download this asset bundle from here. And this is going to be the files that I told you that we need. So, not sure why my internet is so slow, but okay, I don't mind as long as the stream health is good. All right, so how many of you guys are following along and are trying to build this application together with me? Let's see, I'm gonna, let's do a poll. While I'm downloading, no, actually the asset bundle already finished downloading. So that means that we can go ahead and unzip this directory. Where is it? Oh, here. So unzip this directory and from here, open it up and you will receive the PDF presentation if you're interested in that, and also a folder called assets. So drag this folder in our root directory, so somewhere below like the package.json, drop it here, and then let's press on the copy folder, and then replace. And this will replace the asset bundle, the assets that was already in our application. And I prepared for you like images for the applications that will be displayed in the notifications. I also have prepared the wallpaper and some dummy data here with all the notifications that we will use in the application to display. All right, so the next task is done. Our assets are in place. Let me go here. So we downloaded and we replaced it in our project. Let's go ahead to our third task. The third task is the image background. So our goal is to render an image background, and the image, as I told you, is this wallpaper from our assets images wallpaper. So in our app.js, let's go ahead and import a couple of components. A couple of things. Here you will see the code examples if you open it like this. But I'm gonna do it right away here. So what do we need is, first of all, we need a component from React Native, which is gonna be the image background. This image background is very similar to an image component, but it allows us to put children content inside the image background, and that is going to be displayed on top of the image. And this way the image serves as a background. Now let's import the actual image. And the image, I called it wallpaper. So let's do import wallpaper from this directory, then assets, then images. Come on, no. Images, then wallpaper.webp, I think. Yes. Now, what should we do? I think we're gonna replace the top container, this view, with our image background. So let's replace view with image background. Make sure that the closing tag is also now image background. And let's go ahead and give it the wallpaper source. So source will be source wallpaper. Save. And just like that, we see the image in the background, and the text that is inside our image background is displayed nicely on top of it. Here, the way I display the image background was using absolute fill position in order to be able to take the whole screen. But I think the way I did it right now is also very nice. Now we can easily clear like the background color of our container because we don't have a background color there. We don't need it. All right, so that's it with image background. Let's go ahead to our next task. Back to our task list. After rendering the image background, let's go ahead and start rendering the date and time UI. The date and time, oh, very convenient because I don't need screenshots. I can just show you how it actually looks here. This is iOS 15 in fact, so it's a bit different from the end result. But the idea is that we have the time displayed at the top of our screen. Above the time, not below, above the time, we will have the date and also the lock icon. So let me see the application and let's go there. Okay, so where we have this text, hello world, this is where we will write the time. So for example, I don't know, 15:26. Then we will duplicate this text to have another one, but this time we need it above the time. And this time will be, I think, for example, Friday, 30 September. All right. And we also need the lock icon that displays like if the screen is locked or not. For that, we're gonna use some icons that are already provided by Expo. So the icon name is gonna be Unicons that we import from Expo vector icons. So above our text, let's render our icon. So Unicons, the name is going to be, I'm gonna check in the here, iOS lock closed. iOS lock closed. Let's close this tag just to see the icon. Require model. Did I write it wrong? Most probably. Unicons. Let's give it a size because it needs the size like 20 and a color white will work. So refresh. Still doesn't work. What's going on? I'm gonna stop the server and start it again. Oh, 80% of people are following along. That's nice. Okay, yes. And let's run it on iOS. Yes, it works. And we see the icon there. Perfect. Now, let's put them into a container in order to be able to properly style and keep them close together, but at the same time, like give them some space between them. So let's go ahead and do that into a view. And we have to close this view after the time. Let's save. Now it's good. And the next step is going to be to actually style this this header, the header of our page. So we will start by giving the styles to our components. For example, this view will have the styles.header. The text here will have styles dot date, and this one will have styles dot time. All right. Now in our styles object here, let's go ahead and start defining the header style, which is going to be an object, the date style, and the time style. All right, so starting with the time, I think we can right away go ahead and increase the font size. So font size is going to be around 50. Font size, how much I gave it? 82 actually. 82. For the font weight, let's give it 500, I think, or even more, like 600 or something. Wait a second, let's see. Okay. No, for font weight is actually 700 or bold, easier, like this. That's how it looks on iOS 16 nowadays. I mean, you can adjust and change the styles. And for the color is going to be a very, like, kind of a white, but it has a tint of blue. So for that reason, let me go ahead and take it from here. This is the color that I'm interested in. And let's paste it here. All right, that looks much better already. So with the time we're done. Let's do the same with our date. For example, the date will have the same color. It will have a font size of probably 20. Yes. Then it will have a font weight. We can make it bold, but I think it will look better if this one is not that actually bold. And what else? And that's it, probably. We're gonna work with alignments in a moment. Now, date. Yes, I think it's good. Okay, so now we want to put all the items in the center, because as we can see, the date starts from the beginning. It doesn't look very good. For that, for our parent component header here, we're gonna say that we want to justify content center. And actually that's not justify content, but align items. It's always like trying one or another. All right, so that's good. Container. Now I want to give some more spacing between the lock icon and the date. So for that reason, for the date, I'm gonna say that it has a margin top of 20, and this will push the icon more to the top. All right. With that being said, like, we're almost ready with everything. Only the position is not right. The position should be on the top. So let's first of all think why it's in the middle, because this header is inside our styles container. So the styles container, as we can see, has align item center and justify content also center. So let's go ahead and remove justify content center, because this is what makes it centered in the middle. So if I remove it, now our lock is on the top, but the problem right now is that we do not see the lock icon as it is behind the notch. There are a couple of ways to address this issue, but the way I'm gonna do it is a bit tricky. So I'm gonna simply say that our header has a static height. So for the height, we're gonna say 250. And we're doing this because this will, knowing and having a static height, will give us the possibility to easier do some calculations during animations. And we're gonna see that a bit later. But it's still not visible. Why? If I do a background color red, we see that the header is actually quite long, but all the items inside it are still aligned to the top. So let's go ahead and beside align items center that centers them horizontally, let's also do justify content center to center them vertically as well in the center. And with that being said, now our header displays well without this background color, and it's actually the same as we have on iOS 16. All right, so I think that's everything that I wanted to do here for our header. And we can move on to the next one. Yes, that was everything. You have the code snippets here if you didn't manage to follow along, or if you had some issues, you can check what are the differences and fix the issues that you have in some cases. So let's go back to our task list, and the next task for us will be UI5. The UI5 is about our footer. The footer, I think it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same here on iOS 15, but I don't know why it doesn't display the flashlight. Maybe because it's an simulator, so that's why it doesn't display the flashlight. But the way we're gonna do it, we're gonna display a flashlight in the left corner, a camera icon in the right corner, and the icons will have like this nice transparent background. Okay, so let's go ahead in our application. And after our header here, we're gonna have a notification list. But after the notification list, we're gonna have our footer. So let's go ahead and do start with a view that will contain our footer. For the style, I'm gonna do styles.footer right away. And as I said, we need two icons here. One icon is, okay, give me a second. The icon name is, one is material community icons. So let's import material community icons at the top from vector icons, material community icons, and the other one is also from Ionicons. Okay, so let's render the first one. The first one is from material community icons and has a name of flashlight. Come on, Vadim. Flashlight. For the size, we're gonna give it 24, and for the color, we're gonna simply give it white. Why I don't close that one? Now it looks better. Color white. Let's close this icon like this, and we see it here right in the middle. All right, let's go ahead and display the second one, and then we're gonna think about positioning and styles and so on. So the second one is from Ionicons, and the name is iOS camera. Again, the size, I'm gonna actually copy them because I'm too lazy. Size 24 and color white. Save. All right, now we see the camera there as well. The idea is that these icons should have like the like a background, a gray background, as you can see here. So for that reason, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put them into a view, both of them. I mean, each of them. So view with a styles.icon, and I put the first icon here. And the same thing we do for the second icon. It's gonna be a view with that, and then we close it after the Ionicons. And like this, now we should have like two views for the icons, and inside of them the material community icon, and here Ionicons. Now that we have that, let's go ahead and start styling it. So what components did we add? We added the footer, we added the icon. I think that's the only thing, footer and icon, right? Okay, where do we start from? Let's probably start with the icon, because the icon is a bit easier to display. So for example, what we need is a background color there, which is gonna be a very dark black color, but we need some transparency. So if we add 6 digits here, as we have right now, and then 2 more, the last 2 digits will represent the transparency. So if we do FF, that's gonna be fully visible, and as we can see, it's the same thing. But if we're gonna do 0, 0, that's gonna be fully transparent, and we don't see it. But if we do something in the middle, for example, 50, that's gonna be like semi-transparent, as we can see there. So that's what we were interested in. Let's make them a bit bigger. So I'm gonna give it a width of 50 and also a height of 50, but instead of giving the height, I can work with aspect ratio of 1, and this will automatically calculate the height to be equal to the width. All right, now we see that the icons are not centered. So to center, we need 2 properties: justify content and align items, similar how we did here in the header. Okay, let's do that here. Now they're in the center. And what else? What else? We need to make them round, right? Let's do border radius, also 50, the same as our width. And just like that, our our icons are looking really nice. Now let's go ahead and position them. We need to display them in the same line, not in separate lines. So to do that, we're gonna use flex direction row, and this will display them in the same row like this. Now, what else? An easy way to, the next step is to render them at the bottom of the screen, not on the top. And an easy way to do that is to give margin top auto to this footer container, margin top auto. And by doing that, we are basically saying that footer should have maximum amount of margin on the top in order to, but still visible in the parent container. So as we can see, that pushed him all the way to the bottom. Now to work a bit with the actual how it is displayed and the sizes, I'm gonna start with a background color just to see what we have, what we are working with. So if I do background color red, we see that the footer is simply as wide as our icons. But the idea is the footer should be as wide as our screen. So one way would be to give a width 100%. But a better approach, I think, is using align self, and we say that it should stretch. And why we're doing this? Basically, align items on the parent component of this footer. This is the footer. Parent component of this footer is this image background, and it has the container. So the container has align items center, and this means that the items will be centered. If the items here would be stretch, then like it would work automatically. But because we wanted to align items in the center, but actually I don't need that, you know? I can do stretch here and to have both the header and the footer stretched. So in this case, I don't need to give align self stretch here because both of them should be stretched. Does that make sense? I hope so. All right. Now let's work with a bit of spacing. For example, it's too. It doesn't have like some inner space, the footer, and as we can see, like our icons touch the border of the screen and also the footer. So let's give some padding to the footer, like 10. Padding 10. But as we can see, the icon doesn't start so close to the right side of the screen. It starts a bit in the middle. So for that reason, I'm gonna say padding vertical 10, but padding horizontal will be 30. Padding horizontal 30, like this. And now our flashlight looks a bit better here. To play, also for the same reason we gave a specific height for our header, we're gonna do the same for our footer in order to simplify our work when we're gonna deal with animations. So height 75. Okay, that shouldn't change a lot, but now we know that the height is 75. Okay, now positioning, right? Again, like the camera icon should be to the right. So one way to do that is to tell our Flexbox how should it justify the content. We know that there is a justify content center, and this will put all the items in the center, as we can see here. But what we are interested in is space between. So the Flexbox will put all the space between the items. So one item is on the left, one item is on the right. And with that being said, I think we are done with our footer. Let me just double check if we have everything. We don't need the red color here anymore. And yeah, I think we are good to go with this footer as it is right now. So that means that we are done with the footer. Do you have any questions on the footer, guys? Or on anything that we have done until this moment? Because the next step would be to working with dynamic time. So yeah, let's see. Okay. I watched your video and fell in love with what you do. Keep up the good work. I'm watching this till the end. Thank you very much, Edward. That's really nice. We're doing these kind of projects every Friday, so make sure to subscribe and join us every Friday for the live streams build. Which extensions do you use to highlight the color in the editor? I don't remember the name, but I have like a video specifically for my whole VS Code setup, where I also show you all the extensions that I'm using. Can't you add the styles to the icon component itself? I would like to say that it's possible, but most probably I tried that and something is not working properly, and you're limited to some kind of styles. So for example, probably alignment or border radius was not working. I can give it a try, but I think that's we can look at that after the stream. Oh, Yusuf said that he didn't know about the stretch, so that's a new thing you learned today. That's amazing. Love from India. Hello, Brian. Guys, in a moment, like we have 3 more tasks and then we're gonna get into the animations. So that's exciting. That's the exciting part. I see that there are not a lot of questions, so we can go ahead and start working on the next tasks. All right, so we are done with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next step is to work with a dynamic time. The idea is that at this moment, the time that we're displaying here is hard-coded here in our display, so it doesn't actually show the proper time and the date. So in this small tutorial, you're gonna learn how to work with days.js library in order to work with times and display times in your application. So for that, let's go ahead and first of all, install days.js in our project. For that, let's open at the terminal, a new terminal, and here let's go ahead and write npx expo install days.js. You have like this command here. It's not days, it's day, sorry. Let's do day.js. All right, it was installed successfully. And the next step is to use this day.js in our application. So first of all, let's import day.js here, like this. And where we're displaying, for example, the time, let's go ahead and add curly brackets instead of that text in order to be able to access like JavaScript and, for example, this days.js. And let's call this days.js in order to get the current date and time. It's not gonna display anything because day.js doesn't return a string, it returns a date object. So we can do like, I don't know, to isostring, something like that, just to see it. So right away we see that that's quite a lot of things there. But what we can do with this day.js library, and why I like it in comparison with the JavaScript date library, like the JavaScript date object, is that we can format, and it's very easy to format dates in the way you actually need it. So for example, for this one, the format will be, we need to display hour and minute. So for the hour is HH, then double dots, MM for the minute. So this will display the current date. As we can see, it's correct. If you want to display the seconds, you can do SS here. Check out their documentation for more information about how you can format. Now, for the date, we're going to do the same basically, but we're going to format it a bit differently. So let's copy this from here, let's put it here, and let's format this date to display the name of the day of the week, and the name of the day of the week is going to be for this, D. Then we have comma, save, we see already Friday. Then we have DD for the day of a month, and we have MMMM for the name of a month. So again, like I don't remember these things, you don't have to remember them, you can go ahead and look in the documentation and to see like what all of these stand for, and knowing them, then you can mix them to display dates in the way you actually want. For example, if I do just MM, that's going to display the month, but in with numbers. If I do MM with lower, that's going to display 52. I think it's the, I don't remember what's MM. But what we're interested in is in this Friday, 30th September. All right, that's good. But the problem is that we are setting this when we're displaying this time when we're opening the application. Now, if I'm gonna wait, and actually I already waited a couple of minutes, and I see that the current time is 53, but it still displays 52 in the application. So if I'm gonna restart the application, yeah, it's gonna display 53 because it will take the current date when the application is rendered. But that's not what we actually want to do, and that's not how a clock works. A clock should automatically update like every second and display the most up-to-date like time. So for that, we're gonna have to do a couple of changes in order to always update this timer. How we can do that? We have it here. So okay, let me do it like this. I'm gonna explain it every single step. So instead of taking the date, like the current date inside the rendering part, we're gonna save it into a state variable. because a state variable we can update, and whenever a state variable updates, our user interface, our UI, is re-rendered to reflect the changes in the state. So this way we can have a state variable for the current time, and for that we're gonna need the useState hook from React. Now, inside our application, before we are returning here, let's go ahead and define the state for our date. Set date for the setter equal useState. Now, whenever we're working with useState, we can provide a default value here. So what's going to be the default value? Well, it's going to be the days.js that gives us the current date, right? Now, instead of now let's go ahead and take this date, our state variable called date, and let's replace in where we are rendering here, instead of days.js, let's do date.format, and the same here, date.format. Now, it's gonna, we didn't solve the problem, this is only the first step, but the good thing is that our date is being taken from the state, and whenever the state variable will change, our UI will re-render and it will reflect the changes of our date. Now, how do we update the date in our state? Well, we can have a function that is being triggered like every second, or if we're only displaying minutes, it can also be triggered every minute. And every minute it will update the state variable, and then the state variable, as I said, will update the UI. To have like this repeatable function that runs at at specific intervals, like every minute, every second, and so on, there is a function in JavaScript called setInterval, and setInterval will help us to do that. But we also need to import the useEffect hook, because we need to start this. Function. We need to initiate the interval when the component mounts. So using a useEffect, we can provide here a function, and after the function, if we provide an empty dependency array, this useEffect will be called when we start the component. Now we can use the setInterval here that I was talking about. SetInterval expects two things: a callback function and then the number of milliseconds that will define our interval, like how often should we run the function that we are sending here. The function, we're gonna define it here. And for the second parameter of the setInterval, we need number of milliseconds. So 1 second, that's 1000 milliseconds. So if we send 1000, that's going to be 1 second, and then we can multiply it by, for example, 10, that's going to be 10 seconds, or 60, that's going to be 1 minute. But I'm going to do multiply by 1 just to see that this is 1 second. Now, what should we do every second? Every second we should update this date state variable to reflect the most up-to-date, the current date. So we're gonna use this setter, set date, in our interval, set date, and the value that we're gonna send is gonna be this days.js. And whenever we call this days.js, it returns us the most current time and date. So by doing that, we update the date state every single second. And in order to be able to see that in our user interface, let's go ahead and where we're displaying the time, let's also display the seconds. And this will actually will help us to visualize and see if it's actually working. So I don't see what's the problem here. All right, here we have it. It updates every single second. So to recap what is happening here, we are using a state variable for the current date, and based on that current date, we're displaying it on the screen. Now we need a way to update that current date every single, based on some interval, like every second or every 10 seconds or every minute. For that, we're using a setInterval function, that helps us run a callback function every X amount of time, every X amount of milliseconds. So every second here, we are setting the date and updating it with the most current date. And we are initializing this set interval when we first render the application component, because it is inside this use effect. The last thing here is to avoid memory leaks. Every time we set an interval, we should also make sure to remove it, to unset it. Because if we leave this component application, then we don't want this interval to still keep running. Because if it still keeps running, that's a memory leak, and that's not good for your application. So the way we can reset it, our set interval will give us back the actual object for the interval. So we can say interval equal to set interval. And in a use effect, if we return a function, this function is going to be called when the component unmounts. So this is where we clean up the component and clean up things that we initialize here. And to clean up, there is a global function that is automatically available, clear interval, and we're gonna send this interval here. Just by doing that, we make sure that every time our application unmounts, we are actually stopping this function to repeat and to run again and again. Now that we see that everything is working, we can remove the seconds from here because I don't need them. I can save, and we can set like here, like run this interval every second, basically 1000 milliseconds multiplied by 60 seconds in a minute. So run this every minute, not second. All right, so with that being said, I think that's everything when it comes to working with Days.js and to display the current date and time on the screen using custom formatting. Let's see. Yes, I think so. Yeah, use state, use effect. Yes, perfect. Anyone has any questions related regarding the Days.js and how we're working in the current feature? Sorry, I'm mumbling. For some reason, the app is only showing on the first 30% of my screen. The bottom half is blank. Let me recheck the background style. Yeah, that might be the problem with background style. One thing that you could try is to say, for example, if your screen is smaller and has a different shape, and I will simulate that by saying that the container height is, I don't know, 400 pixels. In that case, like it might show you like this. But no, actually the image displays properly. I was thinking to give like a resize mode to this image background. Resize mode. The default is, you can have contain, and this will make sure that the background image is fully visible on the screen, or you can have cover, and this will make sure that the image covers the container that it is displayed in. And by default, the resize mode is covered, so that shouldn't be the problem. So not sure why that might happen for you. Shouldn't the footer be more on the top? Maybe, but I'm gonna stick with this just in order not to mess up the numbers when it comes to animations. All right, so guys, are you managing to follow along? Everything good? MM is minute, yes. Yeah, Jason, you can also check the code snippets that I'm providing here in the project. You can get this the URL of this page following like this page, following the link in the description of this video at the assets.node.js/ios-lock screen. Okay. Can you use higher order components and write the same example? I'm not sure if I understand what you're saying. Do you want me to explain how higher order components work, or do you want me to do this with higher order components? I don't know. Okay. Regarding the social media application from the masterclass, reach out to me on Discord and I'm gonna try to help you there. Not to delay, not to how is it the word I forgot? To be focused on the application that we are building today. All right, guys. So that means that we are done with the dynamic time, and the last step is with a notification flat list. The notification flat list, I was not here we have it, the notification flat list. Actually, the notification flat list I was not planning to explain like step by step, but mostly give you the code just for us to move as faster to the next step, which is going to be the animations. And that is the exciting part, and that's what I really want to do here. So let's go ahead and add the notification item component. And for that, we need to create a new file in our source components called notification item. So let's go ahead in our project. Let's open the files. And let's create, first of all, the source directory because we don't have it yet. And I like to keep all the source file in the src directory. So let's go ahead and click new folder, src. And here, let's go and create another folder for our components. Now in this components folder, I'm going to create a new file called notification, how is it called? Notification list item or notification item.js. All right, so for this notification item.js, I have prepared how we are displaying it. So I'm going to copy it from our task list. If you're interested, we can do together the how is it called? The flat list. Yeah, like the notification item simply renders the image of the application that the notification is from, and then it renders the title and the subtitle, and then the created at, and that's it. Like it's a pretty simple component with some styling to make sure that it looks good. Also, as we can see here, the height of our container, we have it defined here as notification height. This way, we're gonna need this notification height later in the video. Okay, so with the notifications, we are done. Now let's go ahead and for the next file, this is gonna be the notifications list. Notification list component. Make sure it's, wait. Okay. Notification list. Let's copy the code first. And in our components, let's create a new file, notifications list.js. Let's paste the code here. And again, this component is pretty simple. It renders a flat list. The data is imported from the assets data notification, and make sure that the relative path is correct. Because if you didn't create these directories, or if your project structure looks a bit different, then you'll have to update the relative path to the notifications. And the notifications are coming from assets, data, notifications here. And this is like an array with all the notifications that we have. And for the render item, for every item, we are rendering the item that we created in the previous step. Now, with all of this created, we can go ahead in our app.js and let's import notifications list from source components notification list. Let me check if it's the same name. Yes. Now, let's render this list here where we are supposed to render a notification list. Basically, between the header and the footer. Let's go ahead and render notification list like this. And just by doing that, we have our scrollable list with notifications. Well, everything looks good so far. I'd say it looks good, but it looks basic. So in the next steps, we're gonna go ahead and implement some really nice animations. But before that, one thing that we can improve is whenever I scroll up, the time remains on the top of the screen. However, in iOS, this is different. So whenever we scroll up notifications, the time scrolls up together with the notifications. To accomplish this, our flat lists have a property called list header component. So let's send it to this notifications list as list header component. And here it expects a simple component. So what we're gonna render there, we're gonna render our header there. So let's copy everything from here and paste them here. So now the time serves as the list header component. And by doing that, when we scroll, our time scrolls together with our flat list. Just like that. Now it's a much better experience and it's very similar to how iOS is doing. The last thing here in app.js that we forgot to do before is to adjust the status bar, because at the moment it displays with black color. But if we say white here, now the status bar white, come on, should be. Oh, it should be light. Yes, light. If the style is light, then the battery indicator and all the indicators in the status bar will display with white color. If you use React instead of React Native, what is a good alternative for the flat list? I think in React, it's a simple div, like a scrollable div. Okay, so that means that we are actually done. Yeah, render it in the application and move a header as the list header component for our notification list. So that means that we are done with the UI part. Whoo! 1 hour in and the user interface is finished. Awesome. So next part is exciting. How are you doing, guys? Are you managing to follow along with the user interface part? Let me do a poll real quick. Okay. It already looks so good. This is this is a project that I was doing on weekend when I said like today I don't want to work. Like today I don't want to work. So what should I do? Let's play a bit with animations and let's try to simulate or replicate the animations from Apple. And yeah, like I worked like probably the whole day just to make the animations. But now I think it's gonna go much faster, and I'm gonna try to explain like step by step everything how it works. Let's So I'm thinking how to get started. All right, so let's go ahead and start our animation part. And we're gonna start with A1, the first task from our list, get started with Reanimated. Here, actually, let me, I need to do one extra step to commit everything here, just to have like a possibility to get back and share with you the source code for the UI. So UI here is done. Yep. I'm thinking to cut this video as a separate resource later on. So let me quickly do like a proper intro. So in the previous part, we have managed to build the user interface of our iOS lock screen, iOS 16 lock screen. Now you can go ahead and download the source code from the description below of the user interface. And in this video, we're gonna take it to a next level and we're gonna work on the animations. And the animations, they will look, where is it? Expo Go. Go home, and here I have iOS home. By the end of this video, our lock screen will look a bit different. So the first thing that we see here at the bottom is the swipe up to open text that nicely animates to the top, and also we're playing a bit with opacity to make it more visible. Then the exciting part is actually the flat list animations. So the flat list animations, as we can see, all the items are coming very nicely from the bottom. We're playing with, again, like with opacity, with translation, and also with the scale of item to make it seem that it's coming from beneath the last item. So when you scroll really fast, it really looks cool. Also, another simple and small animation is the way we're hiding the footer here on this page. So when we start scrolling, as we can see, the footer disappears, and now we have a bit more space for our notification flat list. And the same when we go all the way up, our footer actually appears, and we have a bit less space for the flat list. But all of these are very smooth. There is no like jump to a new size and so on. And the last thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna hide all the items or all the flat list when we swipe down in order to have a very clean user interface here. And when we swipe up, the items appear back. So with that being said, we are ready to get started, and yeah, let's get it going. All right, so let me put this one here. Like this. And where is our code? All right, here we have it, and the last step is our guide here. Okay, so the first task from our all right, so the first task is this get started with Reanimated, and we're gonna start by installing Reanimated in our Expo project. You can have a look at the documentations of Reanimated here, and actually I'm gonna open it up because we're gonna look through the documentation from time to time. And then we have an installation guide specifically for Expo. So go ahead and open it up, but the only thing that we have to do is to use npx expo install React Native Reanimated. So let's go in our project and start with that. I'm gonna open a terminal and let's do, npx expo install React Native Reanimated. Enter. I'm gonna have to switch back to our project. No. Come on. Home and iOS lock screen. Okay, so after it is installed, we see added 5 packages. That's good. The next step is to add, to change a bit the bubble.config file. And what we need is this plugins React Native Reanimated plugin. So let's copy this. Actually, let's copy the whole babel.config if this is a new project, but if you have like made already changes, it's better just to copy the plugins from here. Let's go in our application. We find in the root directory the Babel config, and after the presets, we can paste the plugins. Now, after that is done, we should restart our development server, and we should start it again and also clear the cache. So let's go ahead and stop our development server using Ctrl+C or Command+C. And then we're gonna do npm start, then -- space -- clear. This will send the clear flag to our Expo, and it will make sure to clear the cache and in order to include the newly added Reanimated plugin. Okay, so let's press I to open it on iOS. I'm gonna open it again just to make sure that it's actually the latest version. All right, now we see it loading. It means that, it's trying to download the new update. Okay, if everything is running without any problems, then good job. That's it. We can move on to the next step because our Reanimated is installed and it's correctly set up with the plugin. Okay, let's go back to the task list and let's go to the next topic. The next topic is about layout animations. Layout animations are a very easy way to animate some of your like layout components. And the way it works, we can define some basic animations for when the component is entering the screen and some basic animations when the component is leaving the screen. And this is very helpful in situations like where we don't want some very advanced animations. We just want to make our application look a bit better. And we can just add a couple of these animations like slide in that will come from the top, or with opacity like fade in and fade out. These like simple animations that work really well in the applications. So let's have a look at how we can work with these layout animations. Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead in our app.js. And what do we have to do is first we have to import the reanimated library. So we're gonna import like this, animated from React reanimated. Besides the animated library, we also want to import some helper animations. And one of them is the slide in down and also slide in up. These are animations that will help us move like some containers up and down when they appear on the screen. So to work with them, let's go ahead and check like one layout component that we want to animate. For example, the footer, we can animate it to appear from the bottom to the top, and the clock we can animate to appear from the top to the bottom. To do that, we need to change from a simple and normal view to an animated view. So I will just simply say animated.view. And this is a view that already can be animated. Make sure that the closing tag is also animated.view. So besides the properties of a view like style and so on, the animated view also expects a couple of other properties like entering. And the entering will specify what animation to use, what layout animation to use when this component mounts, when this component is added. So in the entering, I can do sliding down. And as you can see, like it's really hard probably to see. But when the application mounts, our footer comes from the bottom to the top. It shows refreshing and probably you don't see it properly. But let's check and let's try to do the same layout animation for our header. So for our header, again, instead of view, we have an animated.view. And for entering, we have slide in up. So it slides in from the top position. Yes, and you saw that it automatically appears from the top to the bottom. There is a lot of this type of animations, and you can animate both the entering and the exiting part. And this is helpful, like for example, when you have like some items that you add to a list, you can animate how they appear in the list, like should they fade in, and also how the items behave when you remove them from the user interface with the exiting. In our case, we don't need any exiting animations. And for more details to check like what other layout animations there are, you can check the documentation, and here probably you can see, read more. Yeah. Here are all the animations: fade in right, fade in left, fade in up, down, and so on. There are also some modifiers where you can adjust and fine-tune the animations the way you actually want them to look, but I'm pretty happy with how they perform right now. And here in this example, we show you how animation look on the screen, like fading up, fading down. Yeah, these are the fade in. When there is bounce, it can bounce in, bounce out, and so on. So there are a lot of like these really easy animations that you can use out of the box from Reanimated. Flip, stretch. I'm gonna leave you here because you can have a look at all of these animations in your application or here in this documentation. Light speed. Okay, that looks really nice. So with layout animations, I hope it's clear. Now the next step is to work with some custom animations. But before that, let me go ahead and commit everything. Layout animations. Perfect. Now, as I said, the next step is to start working at some custom animations, because not always we will be happy with layout animations, and sometimes we need more freedom and adjustments to run these animations. For example, for the swipe up label that we saw in the demo at the beginning, that label is like a custom animations and we should implement it ourselves. So for that, let's go ahead and first create this component that will display a simple swipe up to open label in our application. So for that, in our source components, let's create a new file, swipe up. Swipe up to open, rename, swipe up. Come on. To open. Open.js, come on. Okay, here let's generate a blank component. And what will we have in the swipe up to open? A simple text. We don't even need the view, we only need the text. And it should be a swipe up to open. Okay, I already see that I made a mistake to the file name. And the same for the name of a component. But that's not a big issue. I don't need the view. Okay. Now let's style a bit this text. And I'm gonna style it right away here. But to style it, probably I first need to display it on the screen to be able to see it. So let's go in the app.js. Let's import this newly added component, import swipe up to open from components. And we're gonna render it between our two icons, between the flashlight icon and between the iOS camera icon. Here, let's do swipe up to open. Okay, we have it there. That's okay. For the footer, checking footer. Okay. So let's go to the swipe up to open and style it. So first of all, we need a color white. Then we need to increase a bit the font weight 600. What else? We need to make sure that it is aligned at the bottom. So I will use align self flex end to align it at the bottom. Yes, there. It looks very nice, like almost at the end here. Flex and what else? Oh, I can play around with some letter spacing to increase the space between the letters, so it will look a bit better. Swipe up to open. Perfect. Let me go ahead in the app.js and actually use the recommendation from people to add a bit more space to the footer, because now it's too close to the bottom. And okay. margin bottom margin bottom 10. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So swipe up to open, we have a text here. Now our job is to animate this text. Whew. That's gonna be a bit complicated to properly explain, but all right. So first of all, we have to import animated from React, not React Native, but React Native reanimated, like this. Now, because our text will be animated, we can change it to an animated.text in order to be able to animate this style. And to animate to directly animate the style of a component, we will use, actually, animated should not be this structure, it should be like this. And as I said, in order to animate the style, directly the style of one component, we will use a hook imported from React Native reanimated called useAnimatedStyle. useAnimatedStyle. Now, in our swipe to open component, let's go ahead and define the animated style equal useAnimatedStyle. This hook expects a function that will return our animated styles. So I'm gonna add some styles in a moment here, but first let's go ahead and send these animated styles to the animated text in the style here. And for that we need to put the existing static styles in an array, and after closing these static styles, we can send the animated style like this. Now, as I said, here in this object that we are returning in the useAnimatedStyle, we can use all the properties that we are styling our components. For example, we can say color can be red, right? And now our color is red there. But what are we interested in is to move this text to the top. Yeah, actually to move this text to the top. So how we're gonna do that? We're gonna work with the transform property, the transform style, that helps us move and scale items on the screen. So how do we want to transform it? We want to translate our item on the Y, and this will move up and down the item. For example, if I do 50 here, I don't see it, but if I do minus 50, it's all the way up there. So if it's 0, it's where it's supposed to be. If it's minus 10, it will be a bit to the bottom. No, it's actually to the top. And if it's 10, it's to the bottom. So negative values move the item closer to the top, and positive translate values move the item to the bottom, lower on the screen. But this animated style right now moves the item right away without animating it properly. In order to say that we want to move towards that direction, not to jump to that direction, we can use some hooks from React Native Reanimated, and one of that is with timing. And this with timing will help us smoothly move the item towards that direction. And we're gonna do probably minus 10 here. So as you saw there, probably you didn't see it. very clearly, but our item slowly moved to the top when we put it there. In order for us to be able to see this in action, we can use another hook from Reanimated with repeat that helps us repeat the same animation over and over. So let's wrap this with timing animation inside the with repeat. The first one is the animation that we want to do. The second parameter is the number of repetitions. For example, 3 times or 5 times we want to repeat this. But if we provide -1, that's gonna repeat the animation unlimited number of times, like this. And the last parameter is whether we want to reverse this animation. So it will go to the translate y -10, then it will go back to 0 and then to -10. So if we send through here, it's gonna try to reverse the animation. So with that being said, let's see, nothing is happening. I mean, -15. Yeah, something is happening, definitely. Let me try to open it again, Expo Go. iOS lock screen. Come on, refresh. Why are not starting the animation? And it only starts when I update it like this. Okay, with repeat, now our component, our swipe up to open moves from 0 to -15, then it moves back to 0, and this way infinite number of times because we have -1 here in the with repeat. What we want to do is we want to move it up, keep it there for like 1 second, and after that it should disappear. And then again from the bottom up, it should stop there for 1 second and then disappear. So as you can see, we have multiple steps. The first step is to move up 15 pixels, and we have it here, like with timing 15. This will help us move up 15 pixels. Now we want to stop there and wait, a couple of seconds to display the text on the top. So as I said, we have multi-step animation, so we can use another hook called with sequence that will help us put one animation after another in a sequence. And our sequence will be, I will wrap my with timing inside a with sequence, because this is the animation, like the steps that we want to repeat. So with timing -15, like that. Probably I'm gonna try to do it like this to make a bit more sense. If I'm gonna... Okay, it's gonna help me in a moment. But in the with sequence at the moment we have only one animation, which is not how with sequence works, because we need multiple animations to sequence them, to run one after another. So as I said, we are moving to the how to do it in order not to... with timing. So let's do again like with timing -15, and the first animation will move to -15 and the second one will keep it there like at -15. And the thing is that now we cannot reverse our repeat when you have like a sequence. So I'm gonna remove this through from here, and yes. Now our sequence is like this. We move to -15 and then we stay there, and then we should go back to 0. So with timing, go to 0. With timing, go to 0, but then it jumps back here. So we need to slowly go there. So if I do it like that, a bit weird. Well, the weird part is that we have here to -15, like go to -15 and then stay to -15. What I can do to improve this a bit is basically what I wanted to do here is to stop at the top for 1 second. And to stop at the top 1 second and then move to the bottom back here, instead of doing this 2 times, I can use another hook called with delay that will help us put some delay before running another animation. So before going back to 0, we should put a with delay. How much? With delay, and the first parameter is the delay. So the delay will be 1.5 seconds and then move to the position 0. So now, okay, now I think it looks good. To 0. It's still not very smooth. Wait a second. Oh, now after refreshing, it's actually what I expect it to be. Can you see it? Like it moves to the top. Yeah, let me explain this sequence one more time because I'm pretty sure it's quite confusing. So the first step in our sequence is to move our swipe up to open to the top 15 pixels. This is what this with timing 15 is doing. It slowly, gradually moves the item until it reaches -15 pixels to the top. After that, we say wait, because we have this delay, wait 1 second there on the top, and after that, go back to 0. But again with timing, so don't jump, but smoothly go back to 0. Then, I don't know why I have here with 15. I think I don't need it. But no, in that case it will jump. So let's keep it there. Perfect. So the movement is actually working as we expect. Now, we need to play around a bit with the opacity, because this swipe up to open, when it moves down, it should not be visible. So before that, give me 1 second. I want to check the wave sequence documentation. Animations, wave sequence. Does it try to run them in reverse order? No, it doesn't have any additional values. So I was thinking that, yeah. All right. So the same way we worked with the transform to animate it, the same way we're gonna work with the opacity. So after we finish the transform, let's animate the opacity of our component. Because if we set opacity to 0, we're not gonna see the item. But what we want to do with the opacity is we want, yeah, let's think. First step is to move up, 15 pixels. I mean, let's try to think when should we start fading out. We should start fading out after the delay finished. So before we start moving to position 0, right? So for that reason, we're gonna have a with delay. And how much delay? It's 1.5 seconds. And after that, using with timing, I want to fade out our text. So the opacity will go to 0. Now, if I refresh, I don't see it. If I do, I don't know, 5,000 just to delay it a bit more. Probably, I think, yeah, it went to opacity 0. Now it doesn't want to come back. Expo Go. iOS lock screen. What's going on there? One. All right, so let's do it like this. I need actually 2 steps, 1 step to fade out and 1 step to fade back in. So for that reason, I'm gonna need a with sequence, a sequence of animations, where the first one is going to 0, fading out, after we finished the first step. Then I want to, also with a small delay of 300 milliseconds, the same amount of time taken by this animation, we want to, with timing, we want to move it back to opacity 1. And it automatically faded away, as you can see. But after once it doesn't repeat. So we need to set that this sequence should repeat infinite number of times. So -1 here, and then we should be good to go. Okay, it automatically fades in and moves to the top, waits there 1.5 seconds, and then it fades out and it appears from the bottom again. Perfect. I think it looks really nice. Guys, what do you think? Is it clear? Probably I will need a bit more time to get used to explaining these animations to you. Next time I'll try to use some drawings to make it a bit more clear. But so far, is these small custom animations that we are animating the position and also the opacity, is it clear, or do we want to stop? All right, let's ask the community. Because if this one is not clear, no, actually it should be good. Yes, 100% of people said yes. Okay, then probably I thought that it's a bit more complicated than it in fact is. So the complicated part, and the confusing part for beginners, in my opinion, would be all the hooks that we are using with repeat. These are not hooks actually, these are animation functions. With repeat, with sequence, with timing, with delay, and so on. But like when you take them separately, one by one, like with timing, that means that we are not jumping to that position, but we are slowly moving to that position. Then with delay, it's also quite clear, like wait some time and then run the animation. And then with sequence is a way to group multiple steps together if our animation is a bit more complex and we need multiple steps. Like in this case, we need the first step is to move up, the second step is to stay there, and then to move back down. Just this second with timing in the translate one. This one with delete, a bit unclear. Is it unclear because we have like this with delay? This is helping us move back to position 0, and it's clear like when we comment out the opacity, how it works. Because with opacity it looks like some magic, but without opacity we see that we also use the animation to move it back down. But when we uncomment the opacity, at the point where we're moving down, we calculated it in a way to have like the opacity 0. And this is very important, like when you have, when you're animating two properties here, like translate and opacity, if they depend on each other and they should work at the same time, it's really important the values that you're using here. Because for example, if here you decided to do 2000, like with delay, then your animation will start slowly to become worse and worse, as you can see here. Like it's very unpredictable, like every time it runs, every time is different. So it's really important like to have a right amount of delays and right amount of timing for the animations so the two of them sync up. And what do I mean here? Like, first of all, yeah, like we're going here, and this, the timing animation, they also have a duration. So you can change the duration here. For example, if you want this to take a bit more, you can change the duration here. The default one is 300, by the way. So let me actually add this duration 300. This is default, so it's already there. I'm just adding it here. So in the first, let's try to play with this, and I'm gonna try to draw something for you. I'm very terrible at drawing, but let's see what we can achieve. So where is it? Here it should be. What's happening? Wait a second. I'm gonna make sure that everyone gets it. Okay, here we have it. And I'm gonna also have the code here so that you can see it properly. Like this, where to put this one. How to explain it with drawing? Basically, first of all, we have a timeline, right? The animation starts here and it progresses there, and it's infinite. So, as we said here, we want to translate the position to -15 in the next 300 milliseconds. So the first 300 milliseconds, this is 300, we want to translate, yeah, like with green we're gonna have position. So translate. So in the first 300 milliseconds, we want to translate the position of our text like this. Then we have a delay of 1.5 seconds. So in the next 1.5 seconds, 1500, the position, the translate will not change anything because we simply delay. So it's gonna be all the way until there. Come on. Such terrible at drawing. Okay, now after the delay finished, oh, I didn't show it here. After the delay finished, we go back to 0 in the next 300 milliseconds. So in the next 300 milliseconds, we go back to 0 with our position. Perfect. Now let's look at the opacity, what should do. So opacity. Well, when the component, when the component goes up here, we need opacity 1. So opacity here, should I do So opacity starts at 1. Here opacity is 1. Such terrible drawing. And when it moves up, it should be at 1. Then, as long as it stays up, it should always be 1. But when it moves, like during this part, the opacity should already be 0 because we don't want to see the label moving down. We should see delay in the same position, and when its opacity is 0, the label should move down. So, in fact, like we want to move the opacity starting from here all the way till here, so that whenever we start the movement down, we don't want to see the movement down. And after that, like it repeats infinite number of times. Like then from down, it goes back up, it waits 1 second, it goes back down. And the same goes for the opacity. We've delayed 300. That means that we delay 300 on the 0. Probably, yeah, it's all the way till here. This is the 300. And at 300, we move it back to 1, the opacity, in the next 300 milliseconds. This is also 300. So this is how it works. I'm not sure if I helped you or confused you even more, but yeah. And yeah, it's again like while it's up, it's gonna be like this, then it's gonna move to 0. Then it's gonna wait until here, then again up, and so on. Okay, so we're getting there, we're getting there. And as I can see, 84% of our community said that it is clear, so we can move on. Let me see a couple of comments to see if everything is all right. A bit unclear. Is it better now after drawing? Timing needs some adjustment. Timing needs some adjustment. Yeah, as I said, now that you have this diagram there, you can play around with the timing and I don't know, wait a bit more while it is behind. For example, let's see how we would design to have a quite a longer pause between the animations. So the pause, oh God. Okay, the pause is, should be somewhere, this is the pause, right? Between animations. So this pause should be increased from 300 to a bit more. So that means that for our opacity, which is the red, we should increase this segment from 300 to, I don't know, 1000. So, and the same with this part, and the same with this part of our translation animation. The one that goes to 0 should happen not in 300 milliseconds, but should happen in 1 second to have more time between animations. So based on our graph, it's clear, it's a bit more clear for us how to do these adjustments. And let's see if that's actually the case. So as I said, where is my mouse? Come on. Okay, here it is. So as we said, like we want to increase for the timing, we want to increase the segment that goes back to 0 from 300 to more. So this is the segment that goes down to 0. So let's increase it from 300 to 1 second or even more. Like we can do one like this. And when it comes to the opacity, we should increase the segment that delays, that waits, right? So with delay from 300 to 1.5 seconds. Let's see right now if that actually worked. We should have like a more delay. Yes, I think it actually worked. And I can even increase it to 3 seconds to have delay between the animations. 1, 2, 3, and we see it again. 1, 2, 3, and we see it again. I'm interested if it syncs, because if we mess up with these numbers, like it, as I said before, like it will gradually decay and mess up it even bigger. So just wait a couple of iterations and see if you nailed it down and it's the same animation every single time. I hope it is. Looks beautiful. I just can't stop looking at it. Okay, so the next step is going to be the flat list animation. Mateus is saying, all clear, thank you. Looking forward to the kickoff of a course on Monday. Yes, I'm also preparing for that. This Monday we get started with all the students that joined and enrolled in our premium full stack mobile development course. So I'm excited about that to get started, to get to know all the new students that joined the course and to start working with them closer to make sure that they are achieving their goals by the end. Thank you, Catalin. Where are you located? I am currently in Spain. Okay, Vadim, good luck explaining the next animation. So let me do another intro real quick for our flat list animations. Probably I work from, okay. Javier is saying I work for Kanye West and he wanted a few, we watched a few of your videos. You should hop on a call with us, no joke. Okay. Regarding React Native versus Flutter, sorry, it's too complicated topic to get into it right now. So, and of course, like short answer, I'm gonna be biased and I'm gonna say you React Native is better because I'm using React Native day to day. So yeah. But if like for a longer answer, like I can give you a lot of arguments why that's the case. But that doesn't mean that Flutter is bad at the same time. So okay, so let's get back to our coding like this. And before we get started, let's actually have a look at the animation that we are trying to implement to try to see how it actually behaves. And if you have an iOS in your hand, and if you have a iOS 16, but maybe even like 15 have the same animations for this flat list, open the lock screen and try to swipe through the notifications in order to see what's happening, like what's actually happening there in terms of, yeah, like what do you see? I'm gonna open our Expo Go, the previous project. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Alright guys, so in this video we're gonna learn how to animate a flat list using React Native Reanimated. So let's have a look at what specifically we will want to animate there. We're gonna work based on the lock screen of iOS 16, and here we have this beautiful flat list here. What we want to do is to animate the way our items are moving down, because at the moment it's quite boring. Like they are like a plane, plane like moving up and down. Give me a second to open them. Home, this one. What we want to do is to have like something more similar to this, where the items in the flat list, they seem to appear from the behind instead of coming from the bottom of a screen. It's this animation is inspired by actual list of notifications from iOS 16, and we're gonna try to replicate it with React Native and Reanimated. Let's have a look at what actually happens and what we will have to do here. So as you can see, the items, we're playing with first of all with their size, because you see that the last item here is a bit smaller than the rest of items that we see on the screen, and it slowly grows until it reaches its position. And when it reaches its position, now the animation for the item is finished, and we expect the next one to come into the view. Besides the scale, we also play with the opacity. As you can see, the more I scroll down, the least I can see the item in the back. And when the animation finishes, I cannot see that item at all. The same way when I scroll up, the opacity of the item increases until it reaches 1. And the last step is to simulate this feeling of items coming from the back instead of from the bottom. And to do that, we're gonna play with the translation of the last item, and we're gonna move it with the same speed as the scroll speed in order for the item to slowly come back and into the view. I think it will make more sense when we actually implement it, and we're going to do it step by step, so don't worry about that. Besides these cool animations of things appearing and moving out of a screen, we're going to also animate the footer. So as you can see, when the list is all the way up, the footer is displayed here. And when we start scrolling a bit, the footer disappears to make more room for our flat list. And yeah, like the same, like when these things happen, everything is also smooth. We are not jumping to like a bigger size, but we are slowly animating up and down. The same goes when we scroll up, our footer appears slowly and it leaves a bit less space for our flat list. And lastly, in this video, we're gonna learn how to dismiss a flat list and move all the items to below the screen in order not to see them and to have a clear screen like this. And whenever we swipe up, we see them back on the screen. So I'm pretty excited about that. And with that being said, let's get started. Okay, so we have a plan. We kind of understand what we have to do. Let's take it again, like step by step and feature by feature, animation by animation, and let's animate them. Where is my code editor? Here it should be. All right. And my Google Chrome is here. No, it's here. Before we start, let me quickly commit everything. Okay, now we are ready. So in the flat list animations, I don't have a lot of snippets, but we're gonna do it step by step together. So the first thing is, let's work on the hiding and showing the footer whenever we scroll the list. Whenever we scroll the list, we need to hide and show the footer. So how we're gonna do that? As you can see here, the logic behind when the footer should be visible and when the footer is not visible depends on how much did we scroll in the list. Because if we didn't scroll at all and we are all the way up, the scroll position is 0, then the footer should be visible. When we start scrolling and we pass like a very small threshold of like, I don't know, 5 pixels, then our footer should be invisible and we should smoothly go through the items. All right, so as I said, we need to work with the scroll position. For that, let's open our notification list. Let's open our notification list, and here a flat list can expect and here in the flat list we can provide an on scroll event, and we can provide a function that will be called every time the flat list scrolls. That function we're going to define using a helper function, a helper hook from animated. So let's import animated and React Native Reanimated. And the hook that we're interested in is the use scroll handle, animated scroll handle, use animated scroll handler. So using this hook, we can define our handler that will handle the scroll events. handler equal use animated scroll handler, and here we need to provide an object. An object that can receive a couple of properties, and all of these properties are the events that can happen while we are scrolling. One of these events is, for example, on scroll, and the on scroll event, let's do event. This on scroll event, I can console log. The problem is that it has a lot of things, so I'm gonna only console log one property of this event, and that property is called content offset dot y. Content offset is the value representing how much our content has been scrolled, basically the scroll position in our list. So now if I send the handler to the onScroll event, if I open up our console, the terminal to see the logs, and if I start scrolling, nothing happens because because I'm running another project. Let me quickly open back our iOS home. Not iOS home, iOS lock screen. Yeah, my bad. Let's open iOS. This one. And if I start scrolling, type error, vsprops on scroll is not a function. Okay. Vsprops on scroll is not a function. Use animated scroll handler. Oh yeah, because the flat list should be an animated flat list, animated.flatlist. Okay, now if I'm gonna scroll, I already see how many pixels we scrolled to the bottom. So as you can see, if I scroll more and more, it displays the amount of scroll that we did. If I go back up, we get to the 0. Interesting part is that if we pull down, we can get to the minus content offset, because actually that's how it happens. We move in a different direction. Okay. So, now the idea is that based on this scroll event, let's grab this into a variable like this. I don't need to console log it anymore. And we're gonna say if y is less than 10 pixels, that means that we're on the top of the screen. So here we should have the footer opened. However, if y is more than 10 pixels, we should close the footer. The problem is that the footer item is not here. The footer item is in the parent component, in the app.js, if you remember here, parent component, footer. This is the footer. While I'm here, I will remove actually the slide-in animation of the header, because every time it updates, it runs the slide animation. So the way to avoid this would be to memorize this component, not to re-render it every time our component re-renders. So for that reason, I'm gonna simply, or should I show you how to change it? Maybe in the end of the video. Because I want to focus on the footer. All right, so as I said, what we have to do when we want to hide the footer is to move this footer out of the way. and to leave a bit more space for our list. If you remember, we don't want this to be like to jump from one position to another. We want it to be like very smooth from one to another. So in order to have like values that will help us run smooth animations on the UI user I remember that I forgot to show you something back there. Yeah, I'm gonna go back to what I was explaining with a footer, but what I want to explain here with an on-scroll event is this on-scroll event handler will be called as many times as possible whenever we scroll through the feed. But the thing is that we don't need this on-scroll event to be run more than 60 times per second in order to have like a 60 FPS animations. Anything more than 60 times per second calling this handler will not improve anything because most of the phones have a 60 FPS refresh rate. So in order to limit how many times this on-scroll event is being called per second, the maximum time, we can provide their throttle, scroll event throttle, and scroll event throttle will receive the scroll event throttle will receive 1000 divided by 16, so that's actually no 1000 divided by 60, because we want 60 frames every second, so that's actually 16 if I'm not mistaken. And just by doing that, we make sure to throttle and not unnecessarily call this handler on our flat list. Okay, with that being said, we can move on to the application, because here we are working with the footer, and we need to think about how we should drive animation for the footer to make it disappear and to make it leave more room for our flat list. As I said, we don't want this to be jumpy, so we need a value that will drive this animation in a smooth way. That value, we're gonna use the use shared value from React Native Reanimated. And this use shared value allows us to define a value that will be on the UI thread, and this is going to be much more performant for driving animations. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna first say we're gonna define a value, footer visibility, use shared value of 1. Footer visibility. And the footer visibility will be a value that goes from 0 to 1. And based on this footer visibility, we're gonna both work with opacity and also work with moving it down to give space for the flat list. So that's why we have one single value that is going to drive 2 separate animations. And that's why we have it from 0 to 1, because later on we can use some math multiplication to get the value that we actually want, mapping from one range to another. All right, so with this footer visibility, I can go ahead and define a style for our footer. So animated footer style equal use animated style. This is the function that we are interested in. Use animated style, and here will be the object for our animated style. So what, as I said, what do we want to animate? We want to first of all animate the opacity. So the opacity, we are gonna send the, because opacity is also a value from 0 to 1, we can use directly the footer visibility dot value. So when footer visibility is 1, our opacity is 1 and the item is fully visible on the screen. And when it is 0, our item will not be visible on the screen. So let's see if it works. Something is not working there. Use shared value. Where is it coming from? Is it coming from here? No, it's image background source. Footer visibility. Come on. Is it coming from here? No. Is it coming from here? Use animated style, opacity. Oh, use animated style. In case we are working with shared values, the use animated style should be a function that returns an object, not directly an object, like this. And now it's gonna work, but we need to provide this animated footer style to our footer component. Where is it? Here, animated view. It is already an animated view, so we simply have to add the second style here, animated footer style. At the moment, we don't see anything changing, but based on the value of this footer visibility, our footer will appear or disappear. So if I put here 0.5 or 0.1, we will barely see it. Yes, we barely see it. But instead of doing it manually here, we need to drive this animation when we start moving down. So we need this footer visibility property. We need to have access to it from our notification list. So let's send the footer visibility there through props. And in the notification list, we're gonna receive the footer visibility here. And when here we should have a footer open. That means that footer visibility dot value will be equal to 1. And here the footer visibility dot value will be equal to 0 because we need to close it. So let's see if it will work. It's not going to be animated yet, but let's see if at least the logic is there. So I scroll down and the footer disappears. I scroll back up, the footer appears. So that means that we successfully mapped an animation to the scroll event of our flat list. Now the last step is to properly animate it, because we don't want to jump from visible to not visible. We want it to smoothly appear. So instead of setting the footer visibility right away to 1, we can use the with timing to have a slow progression to the visibility and also slow fade out when it disappears. Let's import this with timing from reanimated with timing. And now, as you can see, it slowly disappears and slowly appears. In order to see it better, we can increase the duration of this to 1 second, and then we're going to be able to see it properly. So if I scroll, it slowly appears. Why it's disappearing so fast? Oh, duration 1, I said. Duration 1000. Slowly disappearing, slowly appearing. Okay, now that you see it, I'm gonna remove this duration because I think it looks well with the default duration of 300 milliseconds. Okay, it disappears. This way it appears. Perfect. The next step is to, besides disappearing, besides working with opacity, as I said, we need to, when it's not visible, we need to give this available space to our flat list. To give this to the flat list, we can work with negative margins. So for example, if I'm gonna say margin top is minus 10. I should double check it on Android to see if negative margin works. Then it moves, the elements on the top will have a bit more space. And if I'm gonna do margin top 50, then as you can see, we almost have a space. We remember that our footer has the height of 75 and also margin bottom 10, so probably 85. Minus 85. Let's double check if that's actually true. Yes, if I put 75, we see there is still a little bit of space available there. And if I put 85, it's right where it should be. The problem right now that when it appears, we do not give back this space to the footer, and the footer is displayed on top of the list. So this value should be 0 when footer is visible, and it should be minus 85 when footer is invisible. So for that, we can use an interpolate function to map from one range to another. And as I said, the one range that we're mapping to with interpolate, the first one is the value that we want to use to drive this interpolation. The value will be the footer visibility dot value. Then we have the input range, and then we have output range. The input range is what is the range of this footer visibility? It's from 0 to 1, as we said, so 0 to 1. Now the output range is what are the values that we want to map to. So when footer visibility is 0, our margin top should be minus 85, because we need to give that space to the flat list. But when the footer visibility is 1, we want margin top to be 0. And just like that, if I'm gonna scroll down, we see how it smoothly gives back the space. And it's driven by the same animation, footer visibility. So if in notification here, we're gonna go back to I'm gonna do Ctrl Z. Because it's driven by the same shared value, both of them will move basically in the same rhythm. Like both the opacity and you see it's very slow, and if I go to top, it's very slow, both of them, because it's 3000 here. I'm gonna remove it, and we can see it, how cool and snappy it is at the moment. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, okay. Now, I think we're done with hiding and showing the footer. Footer visibility, footer margin top, yep. Now, hide, show the notification list, or to animate the last visible items. Which one should we do first? To hide and show, or to animate the last visible item? Let's start probably with hide and show, because this might be a bit easier for us. Yeah, when we hide and show, we will work only with one property, which is going to be the translation. Let me quickly animated footer. Footer. Like that. Now, the next step would be whenever we scroll down, we want to hide the list. You might think that hiding the list is moving the whole flat list below, and that was the first step that I tried when implementing this animation, because this is the easiest way. We take the whole flat list and we, with some animated style, we move it out of the screen. But in that situation, our animation, like all our items will move with the same speed. So this is not exactly what iOS is doing. Because if we look here, when I close down, all items move with different speeds. I'm not sure if you understand what I'm saying. Most probably, yeah. It doesn't move the whole flat list. It moves individual items. And as you can see, like, yeah, like they move with different speed to create this effect of appearing. So how we're gonna do that? We're gonna do that by animating each individual flat list item instead of animating the whole flat list at the same time. So we're gonna go in from the notification list to the notification item, and here is where we're gonna start working with animating this item to move out of the screen whenever we scroll all the way up to hide these items. So what will we need? We will need animated from React native reanimated. We will definitely need animated styles, so use animated style. What else? We will most probably need interpolate. Okay, probably that's everything. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and define the styles or animated styles. Animated style equal use animated style, and here let's define the function that will return our object. So it will simply return an object, and here what will we animate? We will animate the position of every single individual item. So for that we're gonna work with transform. The transform here, let's send an object, and yeah, we're gonna translate them on Y. So if we translate them like, I don't know, -100, that means that they will all move down. So let's go ahead and give this animated style to the first view, but for that we need to make it an animated view, and the style here. Perfect. If I do 100, yes, I think it should be positive, yeah. And it slowly should go down like this, all of them. I can do here with timing, 1000, and duration 3 seconds just for you to see it. And let's go ahead and do it like that. Where are we? With timing. Oh, here we go. This way we are moving, but at the same time we are moving all with the same speed. Moving with the same speed is not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is that we need to trigger this movement whenever we scroll down and we whenever we scroll down and we, like, how is it called? Like scroll down and I don't know, leave the screen alone. Take your finger out of the screen. And when that happens, we should move all the items down. We are in the notification item. So all the scroll events are happening in the notification list. So let's go ahead here in the notification list. And the same way as we worked with a visibility, like footer visibility value that goes from 0 to 1 gradually, the same way we're gonna have a visibility for our flat list. So list visibility is going to be equal to use shared value, and it's gonna start with 1. It's going to be visible. Now let's go ahead and send this list visibility to all our notification items. So list visibility equal list visibility. We should not forget to import use share value from React Reanimated, and in the notification item, let's go ahead and receive here list visibility. Now with this list visibility, I can, with this list visibility, I can drive the translation of every item. And the translation of item, because list visibility is a value from 0 to 1, we need to remap it to a value from 0 to 500. So for that, we're going to use an interpolate. We're going to interpolate the list visibility dot value. The input range, as I said, is 0 to 1, and the output range. So when list visibility is 0, the translation should be 500 at least. And when list visibility is 1, that means that list is visible. The translation should be 0. Save. Okay, it's there. Now let's change from the notification list item. Let's change this list visibility to 0 and 1, depending on where we scrolled the list. Because if I do 0 right now, nothing changes there. But if I refresh, it's there. Yes, it's all the way down. Okay, let's bring them back. So where we're gonna do all of these checks, we're gonna do these checks also in this use animated scroll handler. But instead of doing them in the on scroll event, we're gonna do them in other events called on begin drag. This is going to be an event that is going to be triggered when we start dragging, but to hide it, we need the on end drag to see where we ended. So this event also has like this content offset y. So when we end the drag motion, if the event content offset is less than 0, that means that we are dragging in the opposite direction. If it's less than 0, then what we want to do is we want to change the visibility, list visibility. Dot value is going to be equal to, probably with timing, to 0. We want the list to be hidden because we let the finger outside like when it is 0, and it actually works, but it doesn't come back. We should bring it back when we begin scrolling. So when we begin scrolling, we should probably do visibility, list visibility. It's kind of the same, to 1. But I'm gonna do that only if the list is invisible. So only if list visibility dot value is equal to 0 or is less than 1. If it's not visible, then make sure that it is visible. So now if I'm gonna scroll down, it's gonna disappear from the screen. If I scroll up, it's gonna appear on the screen right away in a very smooth way. Besides the with timing, there are other ways of running animations, and there is this with spring function that simulates a spring animation. So let's change the list visibility to work based on the spring, and this way you're gonna see, I don't know if you'll enjoy it, but it will move a bit differently. Oh yeah, we can see there on the top, like, opa, it moves up and then slowly comes into the place. Just like that. Okay. But as I said, we are really not that interested in having all the items move with the same speed, because at the moment they all kind of move with the same speed, right? What we're interested in, the items on the top should move with a higher speed than the items on the bottom, because they have a longer distance to travel. Okay, here we're gonna work a bit with, we're gonna draw because it's gonna be easier for me to explain. Here we have it. So we have there our list, and let me actually draw it. So here we have our phone, and we have our items. Come on, duplicate. I'm not gonna be too perfectionist, I'm gonna do it like this. And actually it goes all the way below the screen like this. Okay, so every item, what we are doing right now is that every item will move 500 pixels below. So the first item will move 500 pixels below, so it will go here. The second one will move 500 pixels below, and it will move here. The third one again, and so on. Every single item will move the same amount of distance on the screen. And when an item moves the same amount of distance in the same amount of time, that means that they will move with the same speed. So that's why we see that they all are moving with the same speed. In order to have it, that feeling that the top item moves faster, we need to either increase the speed, we need to increase the speed of the first item. So to do that, we either have to decrease the time it takes to run the animation, or we should decrease, oh my god, I'm lost, decrease we should either decrease the time it takes to run the animation, or we should increase the distance that the element should travel. So how we're gonna do that? We're gonna, instead of moving all of them 500 pixels below, we're gonna define a barrier, like a target position somewhere here, And we're gonna try to move all the items to that position. So what does that mean? It means that this item will come here, this item will come here, all the way until the last item will come here. And even like the items below will come here. So in this way, for the first item, this one, we increase the distance that it has to travel. So the distance for this item is much more than the distance for this item. So when the distance is higher and the time is the same, it will feel that it moves much faster to do the same amount of job. So with that being said, let's go ahead and instead of moving 500 pixels to the bottom, we're gonna move it to a predefined position. The predefined position is different. Like the amount of pixels we need to move is different for every single item, and it depends on the position of the item in the list. So that's why we have here the index to know which position is this item displayed at. And based on the notification height, we can know at what distance it starts, at what distance it starts, it is displayed. So what we need to do is we're gonna work with the notification height multiplied by, or let's save it into a variable, right? So const start position of an element is going to be equal to the notification height multiplied by the index. So for the first element, where is it? Let's do 500 here back. So for the first element, the start position will be 0 because index is 0. Then the second element, the start position will be equal to 80 because index is 1, and so on. So we need to say that, yeah, 500 pixels minus start position. Because that's the distance between the element and the target position, if the target position is 500. Why it's not, it stopped, or what happened there? No native splash screen registered. Oh, why you are slow? iOS lock screen. Where are we? So we said that we want to move the item only the difference between the target position and its start position, basically the distance that it has to travel. So now if I'm gonna move it, as you saw, they kinda stack together. So for that reason, I'm gonna slow down a bit this animation using the width spring to 0. Does it have a duration? No, it probably doesn't have a duration. So I'm gonna move a bit to the with timing, just to show you what happens with timing 0, duration 5 seconds. Now, if I'm gonna move down, you see the top items are moving much faster than the bottom items. And this is how we get this effect of items moving at different speeds and they kind of stacking all together. The problem that they are displayed here, they are still visible on the screen, is coming from the this value 500. So if we increase this to the target position, if it's 700, then it's gonna be much better. We don't see it anymore, and it comes back up. All right, looks good. already looks good. But instead of hard coding this position 700, it's better to take the dynamic position of the height of this flat list minus the height of, basically, yeah, like the height of the view that renders the items. I wouldn't say that it's the whole flat list because the header also is part of a flat list, so we cannot take the full height of a flat list, only the height of the container displaying the items. So how do we do that? Well. We know the height of the footer, we know the height of the header. That means that we can simply use the screen height and subtract these two values. So to get the screen height in the notification item, we can use the use dimension hook imported from React Native, use window dimensions, and here in the notification item, let's do const height equal use window dimensions. Now container height is equal to height minus the size of our header, and if you remember, our header has a size of 250 pixels, and the container height is also minus the size of the footer, 85 pixels. So now this container height can go here instead of a hard-coded data to go like right away container height minus start position. And actually we should add a bit more to the container height because this way it will go right there, like right below the container height. Because if I'm gonna add like, I don't know where, container height, I don't know, plus 10, you're gonna see only 10 pixels of those items. No? Probably, yeah, or minus 10. No, the idea is that to decrease a bit more than the container height so that the items do not show up when we jump with a spring. So we can do like, I don't know, 50. Okay. Oh no, it's the other way around. It shouldn't be minus, it should be plus. So if I do plus, I still see the spring animation to the bottom. You know what? When disappearing, let's switch to that timing animation. And when appearing, only spring. So now it appears with spring and it goes with timing. Perfect. And it actually doesn't need this plus 50 if it's timing because it's not going to be visible. Unless like in some weird situations. It's too close, like it's just there under the footer. Yeah. Perfect. So we have some of the things that we need here. We are moving all of them down below. Another thing is to, whenever we are moving them below, we should also resize themselves to shrink and to make it like they moved to the center of the screen. So for that, we're also going to animate the scale property of our notification item. And for that, like in the transform array, let's add another transform that is going to work with the scale. So the scale will be an interpolation of the list visibility value. So list visibility always go from 0 to 1, and our scale should go from, when the visibility is 0, should go, probably it shouldn't be 0 scale, but 0.8 or 0.7. And when the list is visible, the scale should be 1. Now they all shrink. Duration. 2 seconds just for you to see it. So when they go down, they also shrink in size. And you can adjust how much it shrinks like based on this field. So if it's 0.5, like when we reach the bottom, they will be half of their size, like this. I think 0.5 actually looks also good. And the last step is to also work with opacity. Opacity is another property besides the transform. So after we close the array for the transform, let's work with the opacity. And the opacity will be, should it be list visibility value? Because it goes from 0 to 1. So yeah, it kind of works. And when we go down, they also decrease their opacity. So with disappearing the list, I think we are done. Hide and show the notification list. Yeah, notification list disappears. I can remove a duration right now because we are done with the animation, so it should look really smooth and fast. Just like that. All right, so our last step in this tutorial is to implement the animation of the last item. And my computer said that it's too heavy to do everything that I'm trying to do. So animate the last visible item in the list. Not the last item, but the last visible item in the list. So in the notification item, what are we gonna do? Start position. Start position. Start position. Okay, let me think. So yeah, let's go ahead and start working on this. I'm thinking to simplify, in order not to get confused, I'm thinking to comment out this animated style and to kind of disable the animation that is related to the visibility of the list, because they will work based on the same properties like opacity, scale, translate, and it's going to be confusing for us like what we are animating, the last item or the list visibility. So let's comment it out and let's define it one more time. And now we're going to work on the animation for the last element in the list, and at the end we're going to merge them together based on some conditions. So animated style equal use animated style, and this is gonna be the return an object with some changes to our opacity, like at the moment is 1, but we're gonna work with that. So yeah, one more thing that I want to do is to disable the animation for the footer, because that will also impact a lot this last item animation. So let's try to simplify the use case as much as possible for everyone to understand, and then we will try to merge them together with different animations and see how they perform together. So let's go ahead in the notification in the app.js, and if I'm gonna simply comment out our footer like this, then yeah, like it's gonna be much easier for us to work with this. Okay, so now back to our notification item. Shall I bring it to the top? Let me bring it here. Okay, so animation, animated style, okay. So the opacity we will also interpolate, but we need the value to interpolate it on. So what value will drive the animation for the last item? The last item will be animated whenever we scroll up and down. So the value that will drive that animation will be the scroll Y position. So let's go ahead in our list and let's define a shared value for the scroll Y. Use shared value. It's gonna start at 0. We're gonna update it every time we scroll. So the first thing we do is scroll Y dot value equal to the Y that we receive from the event. And this scroll Y we can send to every single notification item. Scroll Y. Now, knowing this scroll Y, we're gonna have to interpolate it to get our desired value. So the scroll Y will have a very big range. So it can go, I don't know, like from 0 to, let's say from 0 to 100, not even 100, let's do more like 500. And the output values for our opacity, we need it from 0 to 1. Here I'm not explaining, let's just go with it and see. Scroll Y, and we need to scroll Y dot value. We just need to see something on the screen, and then based on that we're gonna start working. So as you can see, when the scroll Y is 0, our opacity is 0 and nothing is visible. And when we start scrolling, we slowly start seeing all of them at the same time. Similar to the problem that I explained before, in order for the items not to behave simultaneously, because at the moment they all behave as one single item, they all appear or they all disappear. So in order to detach them from each other, the same way as we did previously, with changing the distance that they have to travel, the same way we can adjust the specific ranges when the opacity should go out and should go on based on the index item. So this is item. Let me actually do it one more time, and I'm gonna do it a bit differently. Let's not do it that big. That's gonna be my phone, and these are gonna be my items. I'm not gonna have a lot of items. I'm gonna have probably 3 items to explain it. Come on. Come on. All right, so this is item number 0, this is item number 1, number 2, number 3. We know the start position of each item, right? So this is 0, this is, if we look in our code, the start position is notification height, which is 80, and multiplied by the index. In our case, I will assume that the height of the item is 100 pixels. So I will say that this is 100, this is 200, and this is 300. So these are the start position of the items. Now, if you remember our animations are driven by the scroll position. The scroll position, I really don't know how to simulate it, but I think I know. So at this moment, when the items are here, the scroll position, scroll equal 0. When we scroll down and we see the first item here on the screen, I mean the second item, here the scroll position, scroll equal to 100. And also the same like below and below. Now let's go back to scroll 0. Let's look at every single individual item and think when should it drop opacity. No, actually before that, let me think. Yeah, before that, let's implement these start positions in our animations that will differentiate when the animation runs for every single individual item. So let's go ahead in our project, here, and the scroll Y, the opacity, for the start range, we're gonna use the start position of the item. So here, let's do 0 will be start position. And for the next one, we should do start position plus notification height. Basically, this is the next item. This is this item, and this is the next item. And what that does for us is if I scroll, as you can see, the items on the bottom are slowly appearing when they are reached this position. What's that position? That position is actually the position of the first item. So when we are in the position of the first item, they are fully visible. But the problem is that we don't want to start their animation when it is in the first position. We want to offset it with the height of our container. So they shouldn't appear here on the screen, they should appear when they reach the bottom of the screen. So for that, we're gonna add the container height to both of these. Should we add or should we subtract? Container height minus container height. So now we offset the position when these elements start appearing. We offset it by the container height. So whenever they are at the bottom here, they are fully visible, as you can see. And this way, our scroll animation is already looking good. Actually, I don't know how we landed from the first time in this position, because in a lot of cases I was oh, my laptop. In a lot of cases, my animations were running properly, but on the top, so they were going from the top to the bottom. But now, as we can see, they're actually the way we want them to be. I would like to take this start position and the end position. I would like to take them in two variables. So position 1 equal this one, and position 2 is equal to this one. So let's now work with position 1 and position 2. I did that because in the next step we're gonna animate other properties also based on the same position. Okay. And when I talk about other properties I talk about, for example, let's work with the transform or with the, both of them will be in transform because we have to work with scale and we have to work with the translate. So for that, let's define the transform, which is an array of multiple transformations. And one of them is the translate y. So how much should we translate? Again, this should be dependent on the scroll position. So scroll y dot value. The input range is going to be the same, only the output range is different. So when our opacity is 0, the translation should be, I don't know, when the opacity is 1, the translation should definitely be 0, because when the item is fully visible, I want it to be in the position it is supposed to be. But when the item is invisible, I want it to be moved a bit. So, but with how much? With a notification height. Let's see. Okay, it doesn't look very good. Scroll y, translate y, scroll y value. I think it's minus notification height. Oh, no, that's interesting. Oh, yeah. The interpolation the way it works, it defines how to map two values, one value to another value. So for example, we have a graph, and here we have what do we have here? Should I work with scroll position? Yeah, let's do with scroll position. So the scroll position starts from 0. I'm gonna do with another. The scroll position starts from 0 and it goes all the way to, like, I don't know, infinity, right? And we need the what? For example, the transform. Yes, translation. But the translation should happen only from the minus notification height, which is, I don't know, from minus notification height, and that means that it's gonna be from the bottom. This is gonna be the translation to 0, but it's not here. Oh, damn. Look, if yellow is our scroll position, the scroll position can actually be negative as well, not only positive. But when we define the interpolation, we define two positions, position 1 and position 2, which are somewhere like, I don't know, let's say here, like, and here. Now we are trying to map these two positions to minus notification height, which represents the position 1. So minus notification height is going to be here, and it represents our first position, and the second value is 0, which corresponds to the second clamp position. So this is going to be our output value. Whenever the first value, oh my god, I'm a bit fried, but it's okay. Here I said that this is start position, and this is the no, this is pose 1 and pose 2. Pose 1 and pose 2. So when our scroll is in pose 1, the translation is minus notification height, minus 100, let's say. And when it's in position 2, the notification height is 0. But interpolation, how it works is, yes, we gave it basically only like this range. But because our scroll position is a continuous thing, like it can be from minus something to plus infinity, there are two options to adjust our mapped value. And one of these options is to clamp it. That basically means that outside of this range is going to be clamped, meaning it's going to be the same, like this. Or we can extend it. Extending it means that we follow the same trajectory. And the problem with our items is that automatically the flat list doesn't clamp, but it extends. And as we can see, the items move all the way like there based on the scroll position. So they move quite a lot, like in when the scroll position will be minus 10, then all the items will be moved to, I don't know, minus 100 or minus 1000. But we don't want to do that. We actually want to clamp the position of our translation to these values. So if it's lower, it's going to be still minus 100. If it's higher, it's going to still be 0. So this is called clamping. Right. So to specify how we want the interpolate to clamp or not, we can specify it as the next parameter, extrapolation, extrapolate.clamp, that we can import from here. Extrapolate, we can say extrapolate.clamp. And now, as I said, like the minimum value will be minus 80. That's our notification height, and the maximum value will be 0. And this way, as you can see, the last item seems that it doesn't move, right? Because that's how we wanted it to be. If we want to make it still move but a bit slower, we can divide this notification height by 2, for example. And let's hope that my PC doesn't crash. Notification height, come on. Divided by 2. This will make it move but a bit slower. So as you can see, the items still move, but they move a bit slow. The last item still moves, but moves a bit slower. And I think this is actually much better than I had before, because I had it like this. And when it is like this, it seems that the last item doesn't move at all, and it only appears. So let's divide it by 2. Probably it will look a bit better. Oh my god, my PC so slow. Do you hear me well, guys? Everything is okay? Best teacher online. Thank you very much. After Lucas. Oh my god. Lucas! Lucas! He's here, by the way. Do you want to see him? Oh my god, come on. What's going on? Divided by 2. Yes, like this. Okay, that's good. Oh, Lucas is here in the chat. No, I said like, come here. Let people see you. Okay, so as I said, beside the opacity and the translation, we should also work with scale. So the scale will be like also this kind of interpolation. Yeah, it's also going to be this kind of interpolation based on the scroll value, starting from position 1, position 2, and the scale should go from 1 to 0. Where is the 1 and where is 0? And probably not even 1 to 0, but 1 and 0.5. So I'm not going to think where to put which value. I'm just going to define it and see. And as I can see, it's not there. It should be 0.5 and here 1. Extrapolate clamp, I said. Why you're so... What's happening? Extrapolate clamp. Oh, not 5, 1, sorry. That's the problem. Now, okay, now it looks better. And here you can play with the value of the scale. I think 5 is too much, so I'm gonna do 0.8, and this way it's gonna look much better. Yes, yes, guys, that's our animations. Oh, it looks so good. Perfect, perfect, perfect. I want another thing. I want to, for our notification list, where we have like some styles or where, I want to see if we are animating them at the right position. Because this notification list, let's give it style, background color, red. And I think we're not animating it right at the bottom. So for that reason, I don't even need the style because I know it's all the way till the bottom. So for that reason, we should think about moving it a bit. For example, notification item, height, start position. Let's see, position 1. Minus container offset. Oh, because we are, yeah, we think that we have the footer there. So if I'm gonna remove this -85 for the footer, the container height, yeah, now it should be better. Oh, so good, so good. All right, so as I said, let me go back to this one. As I said, now the next step would be to group together the animation of the last item and the animation of all the items when we are trying to hide them. So if I uncomment this one here, animated style 2, let's do animated style 2. I just had an idea. What if I send both of them? No, I think it will. The second one will override the first one. So that's not the way to go. The way to go is based on the least visibility value, we should decide what should happen. Because if least visibility is 1, that means that the list is visible and we need to simply animate the last item. However, if least visibility value is less than 1, that means that we are animating the whole list, not only the last item. So for that reason, I'm gonna work with the first one here. For example, opacity. For the opacity, we are gonna do, let me actually do it like this, const opacity. Let's do it. Let's create this object very dynamically. So we're gonna do it like this. Actually, no, it's much easier. I can simply do an if statement and return different. Yeah, as I said, the least visibility value, if it's equal to 1, or let's do if it's more than equal to 1, because if it's a spring, then this least visibility might actually get to a bit more than 1. So if least visibility is more or equal to 1, that means that we are animating the list is visible, so we are animating the last visible item. So for that, let's simply return this thing. However, otherwise, after if ends, we can say else animate all items to hide them. So otherwise, we are gonna return this statement. Will that work? So now all of them are here. When we scroll, the last item is being animated. And when we get to the top and then when we close that list, they go away, and just like that, we move back. Perfect, 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 perfect. On a real device, it's much more smoother. Like my actual device, my actual MacBook is slow because, as you can see, like everything is slow now. So we merged together the two animations for the last visible item and for the hiding of the items. Now let's put back our footer there and think about what do we have to do to work with it. So as you see, like the last visible items here is working properly, but if I swipe, it should move as the footer disappears. It should move to the bottom to take out the available space, because right now we have like this empty space there. At the moment, how we're doing is we are simply working with, in the notification item, with this height of initial height of our footer container. But what we are interested in is in the height at the current position, at the current time, I mean. Because the height of a container changes with slowly, gradually, that means that it's gonna be a shared value. So in the app.js, we already have this footer visibility. We already have this margin top, which is the interpolation. What we have to do is to send this interpolation to as a margin top. We can send it down to our notification list. But yeah, let's actually do it. So footer height, let's do it like this, equal to interpolate footer visibility value 0, 1, and let's not do minus, but plus, and actually it should be other way around. If we represent it as footer height, then when the footer is not visible, the footer visibility is 0, then the height is also 0, and when it is visible, the height is 85. So with this footer height, let's go in our notification list and let's receive it here like this, footer height. Now, footer height. I'm interested what is the interpolate giving us back a shared value or a normal number. Interpolate. What does it return? Returns the value after interpolation from within the output range. All right, that means that it's not gonna work properly because we need a shared value. We need a property that will not trigger JavaScript re-render. So for that, what we can do is to use instead of using a shared value, we should use a derived value, because this value is derived from the it's not here, sorry, in app.js use derived value, and we need that because our value is based on the footer height equal use derived value. Is this footer height depends on the footer visibility. So let me take this interpolation. So this footer height is going to be a function that will interpolate footer visibility from 0, 0, 1 to 85. Now let's give this footer height to the footer height here, and this way it's already a shared value. Now in the notification list we receive this footer height, and what should we do? We should send it down to our notification item. Footer height, footer height. And in the notification item, let's receive this footer height, and instead of hard coding this 85 here, let's do footer height dot value. Now it looks like this, and if I scroll up, it doesn't change at all. So let me refresh. Now it looks like this. If I scroll up, no, it doesn't change. Let me try in the application to I want to console log the I don't know, console log footer height dot value. Container height. Oh, the container height should also be a derived value because it depends on the footer height value, which is a shared value. So without that, it doesn't update automatically. So we need use derived value, and that's going to be used derived value. And this is going to be the derived value. Position 1, what? Use container height. Now, where we access container height, we should do container height dot value, container height dot value. And come on. Yes, let's see. Hop, it disappears, and now the items move respectively, how they're supposed to move. Except my computer is very slow. Come on, we are done. And I just want to showcase it. No default value for what? No default value. I'm getting some errors. Let me stop console logging. No default value, and it happens when I scroll down, when I release. Yes, no default value. Let me see, probably in the notification item, probably the container height, I did it in multiple places. Yeah, container height, well, it should be container height dot value, and yeah, that's it. Now it should work, and it smoothly appears behind the footer. All right, so with that being said, our animations are done. I remember that I promised you to showcase how to fix one problem. So let me quickly do git. Let me check if I don't have any console logs. Probably we don't have. Yeah, so let me quickly commit, and I'm just gonna show you how to fix that issue. Animated flat list. The issue is I'm gonna decrease the amount of time it takes for our time to update. Because every time it updates, it re-renders our component, and that means that our list header component is being created one more time. Every time we re-render a component, this view is created. And because we have an entering animation, every time it is recreated, the animation is being run. So in order not to recreate this component every time our component renders, we can use a useMemo hook to memoize the component. So we're gonna do it here. Const header equal useMemo, and we're gonna return this component like this. Come on. It needs the second parameter, the second dependency array, the similar way as a useState hook. Oh, come on, work. Yes, like this. And now we're gonna simply set that the list header component will be this header. And we don't see that animation running any more time, but our component is being re-rendered. We can see that it's being re-rendered because if I add here seconds, you're gonna see it updating. It's supposed to update. Oh, no. Oh. That's the interesting part, because it also depends on the date that is being displayed there. Yeah, like this. So every time the date changes, we recreate it. But why doesn't it run the animations here if it recreates it? All right, that's good. I'm gonna delete the seconds. And I'm gonna move back to updating it every minute. Yes, this live stream will be uploaded to YouTube, so don't worry about that. All right, so with that being said, we fixed the last issue, so let's do git add, git commit, fix header being re-rendered. It's not actually re-rendered, but okay. Vladislav, hello. all right, guys. So let's have a quick demo if my computer will allow me, because we are done here. We are done here with a task list. Yes. And we are done here. So, where do we start? All right, so in this long live stream, we managed to render the basic user interface of the lock screen from the iOS 16. Then, after rendering the basic UI, we got into the animations. And we started with simple layout animations, and whenever we open the screen, our header will jump in very slowly and nicely. After that, we went into developing some custom animations, and the custom animation here is the swipe up to unlock text at the bottom that really nicely moves up. We played with a position, and we also played with opacity to make it look this way. And the last step in this whole live stream was building the animation for our flat list. So we implemented a couple of things here in the flat list to make it look good. And one of them is the animation of hiding the footer whenever we start scrolling. This is done in iOS in order to give more space for our list. So if I start scrolling, you'll see that So if I start scrolling, you will see that our footer disappears and the rest of the space is given to our elements here. And what I like about this animation is that it doesn't jump to having more space. It slowly, and very smoothly moves there together with the last element. So we can see it one more time, and here it is. Now, when we are back up, our footer slowly appears back on the screen. The next animation that we worked on is hiding the notification list whenever we scroll down. And this was a fun animation because we had to animate every single item in this flat list in order for them to move with different speeds. Because the first item should move much faster than the last item in order to have this effect of stacking everything together, not simply moving all the items at the same time. So if you see there is this effect of all the items gathering in the middle bottom of the screen. Alright, after that animation was done, we went on animating the last item in the list. So as you can see, the last item really smoothly appears in the screen. We played there with opacity, with translation, and with the scale. So the last item really seems that it doesn't go below the screen, but it goes behind the previous items. So this is a really nice animation, and I hope you enjoyed all of this tutorial. Thank you for being here with me till the end. If you have any questions, probably now is the time. And also, please let me know down below in the comments what other animations would you like me to implement, because I really have some interesting ideas to continue this project, to add a bit more animations for this lock screen, and that's gonna be next week on Friday. We're gonna continue this project with a bit more advanced animations. One of the animations that I really want to show you how to do is the animation that is driven by the sensor, by the gyroscope, I don't know how it's called, sensor. So whenever you move a screen, we can drive some animations with that. So that's very exciting, and I can't wait to get into that. Now, as I said, if you have questions, let's cover them now, or we can start our weekend, because long live stream, 3 hours 51. Dynamic island animations. Yes, that's another thing that I want to work on. I have it in my list. I would love to do that. My question is, I need either a device or a simulator with a dynamic island. But yeah, love your work. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have so many people by the end of this live stream. Is there a new simulator for the iPhone 14 on Xcode? Very good question, and I have it noted down. I don't know yet, and this is what I have to research to see if there is the simulator for iPhone 14. Then I'm going to be able to do some animations for the dynamic island as well. Bro, very nice flat list implementation. Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys, so let's continue our conversation on Discord. You can find the link in the description below. And if you enjoyed this tutorial and if you're still here by the end, please subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell to be notified when we go live. But basically, we're going live every single Friday at the same time, and we're building exciting projects here together with you guys. So, yeah, let me know what other animations and what other projects you'd like to see me build in future, and we're gonna take them into consideration. That's it for now, guys. That's it for now, and I'm gonna see you next